Hello there, boys and girls. Adam Nicholas here for WhatCulture. And despite the fact that the entire world may have gone to hell in a handbasket right about now, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I am in a wonderful mood because no matter what happens at this time of the year, we get the latest installment of the Pro Evolution Soccer franchise, or the eFootball PES franchise as it is known these days. And this year is no different. So global pandemics be damned and the rest, it doesn't matter because Pro Evo and Konami have delivered once again. Through their unyielding adaptability and constant evolution, Konami have developed a franchise that was, in fact, so good last year, winning E3 2019's Best Sports Game, that they decided to double down on it this year. As a result of the imminent arrival of the PlayStation 5, Konami have decided to put a lot of their developmental team towards creating PES 2022, the game that will feature on the next-gen console, making sure that is the perfect experience for gamers. That means not so much of their team was concentrating on this game, and they decided to release essentially the identical game in terms of gameplay to fans this year. Now, is this a gamble on Konami's part? Yes, absolutely, of course it is. But in a world that is rife and full of uncertainty, you have to say the one thing you could probably rely on is that Konami and the Pro Evolution Soccer franchise know how to deliver a brilliant football game to their loyal fans. Well, these days anyway. Let's not talk about the dark years of 2008 and 2009. Anyway, my name is Adam Nicholas, this is WhatCulture, and let's get into our review of eFootball PES 2021. Number 9, retains award-winning gameplay. Normally, if a franchise said they'd be making zero changes to the latest yearly installment of their game, fans would probably have cause for concern. However, in the case of eFootball PES 2021, it just so happens to be taking its gameplay from not only the best footballing game last year, but also from E3 2019's Best Sports Game of the Year too. Last year's gameplay was so good that many PES fans, and even some FIFA fans too, considered it to be the franchise's best game in years, so worrying about a lack of an upgrade in this particular department needn't be too much of a concern. Now, would we like to see new additions to advance this gameplay further? Yes, absolutely, of course we would. Every football fan wants to see that when it comes to their football games. But if we just have to keep things the way they are in terms of gameplay this year, which, to be fair, is probably the best that gameplay has been in quite some time, and that means we get a much better PES 22 when it finally releases on the next gen of consoles, then for my money, it's a worthwhile gamble. Number 8, squad's not fully up to date yet. Now, out of the very few disappointments that this game actually offers, this one feels a little bit bigger than usual, only because there's no changes to the gameplay, so you kind of hoped they would have put a little bit more energy into keeping rosters and stuff up to date. But I have to be honest, this is a little bit nitpicky. Now, this should be prefaced with the fact that Konami always do an excellent job at trying to update team squads as fast as possible once the domestic transfer window is shut. It must be a thankless task trying to keep on top of it in general, but it's probably being made worse by a delayed end to last season, causing an extension of the usual transfer cutoff point. Nevertheless, it always feels like there could be an official Konami system in place to have these updated daily as and when they happen, and even more so when there's less work going on towards the actual gameplay. I mean, it is 2020 after all, and that feels like something that could easily be achieved. In Konami's defense though, there's such a massive online unofficial community of PES editors who make sure the team rosters, badges, kits, etc. are all up to date as fast as they possibly can through creating their own option files. It sort of feels a little bit redundant for Konami to spend any time on it, really. Number 7, a fresh lick of paint. The success of this installment of PES was always going to depend on how much Konami could improve the overall aesthetic of the game. The menu graphics have been updated with players from eFootball PES 2021's new partner clubs featuring, as well as a change of colour scheme and animations for both the main screens and in-game menus too. As always, the new kits for licensed teams look stunning as ever, riding on the coattails of a new football season to get fans excited to play in their club's new threads. In a similar vein, there's also a whole host of new player face scans, ranging from updated existing face scans, brand new faces for the rising stars of last season, e.g. Arsenal new boy Gabriel, and other youth academy players as well. Now, this is a perfect way to help reinvigorate, say, your Master League season, and if you're like me, you need your players to have that proper face, because ain't nobody getting in my team without a proper looking face. Why would you choose anybody else, especially those default guys? Ugh, not for me. But either way, this is just the beginning as well. There's so many face scans they've already already incorporated, I think 60 plus at this point, and you have to know that there's going to be more as the season goes on. Konami are excellent at making sure they keep on top of these things. Normally, you get the feeling there'll be a little bit extra effort to make sure that DLC content comes thick and fast to keep the aesthetics of the game looking fresh as ever. Number 6, Arrivederci Milano. Yes, unfortunately, a new edition of PES, a new licensing conundrum to try and navigate, and unfortunately this time round we've had two big losses. The licenses expired for both AC Milan and Inter Milan, and Konami could not get them renewed. Now, in fairness, this does tend to be par for the course, and for any long-term PES fans, you kind of learn to roll with the punches. Because of such a great online community, as we've already mentioned, the option file tends to take care of most of these problems. Now, this does tend to be par for the course with the Pro Evolution Soccer franchise, and anybody who's been a long-term fan will know this, because EA just have such a stranglehold over most of the licenses that financially Konami just can't really keep up with them, and they have to be quite selective in terms of who and what they can get licensed. But normally that isn't a huge issue. You just get an option file and you would change the teams back to how they were and all things would be sorted. But there's a little bit of an added problem which makes this particular L one that is quite hard to swallow. You see, a good old PES option file can sort many things, but sadly when it comes to console versions of the game, there's nothing they can do to replace missing stadiums. While AC Milan and Inter Milan will easily be added to the game via option file when the time comes, their licensing loss means there will be no version of the historic San Siro or Giuseppe Meazza Stadium in eFootball PES 2021. Number 5, new Master League managers. Last year, PES introduced a number of preset managers into the game so they could be used in players' Master League seasons, ranging from anyone to Argentinian legend Diego Maradona all the way through to the late Johan Cruyff. That second one feeling particularly weird just because, you know, he's no longer with us. Regardless, I personally felt this was a really good addition to the Master League, adding that extra little bit of narrative realism to your Master League season, something I like very much in my own game, but it did kind of come at the sacrifice of that you couldn't create your own manager anymore, which isn't really a problem for me, but I imagine a lot of players would actually quite like to create themselves as the manager in the game. Now, while we don't see a return of the create your own manager feature, what we do get this year is Konami adding a few more names to that list in the form of Frank Lampard, Pep Guardiola and Ryan Giggs. In terms of managers that players would want to play as, this feels like a far more relevant trio to include. Managing Chelsea as Lampard, City as Pep, or even Man United as Giggs certainly feels like an enticing prospect, and overall, it's definitely a plus. One minor but definite annoyance, however, is that Pep's character model looks more reminiscent of his early days managing Barcelona, and you can't help but feel that if Konami have indeed used older face scans from previous legend or players that they've had scanned in for the game, assuming that's why Pep looks so dated, then perhaps this could have also included a few others to go with it. I mean, what about playing as Mikel Arteta managing Arsenal? What about Gennaro Gattuso managing Napoli? Zinedine Zidane managing Real Madrid? Or, and let's be honest, the only reason why I'm on this rant in the first place, I want to play the game as Andrea Pirlo with a beard, I should point out, managing Juventus. Konami, surely we can do these. We've got the face scans for these guys. Let's get them included, and hopefully that'll be something they consider for downloadable content in the future. Number 4. UEFA Euro 2020 still included. Another licensing coup that was added to last year's game was that of the UEFA Euro 2020 competition. All 55 European national teams in the competition fully licensed with up-to-date squads and all the official competition graphics, animations and video packages to boot. Now, alright, granted, yes, the real-life Euro 2020 tournament never ended up going ahead last year as a result of the global pandemic. It was cancelled and it's been moved to next year, potentially. And that, I get what you're saying. You're probably thinking, why on earth would you want Konami to keep the license for this tournament? Because it never actually happened. Well, let me tell you why. You see, with Konami managing to retain the licenses for the UEFA Euro competition and all of the national teams that they had licensed, when the real-life Euro 2021 tournament does inevitably come back around next year, you can bet that eFootball PES 2021 will be adding a DLC to update the whole thing, ready for the tournament to officially begin. Number 3, no next gen for this installment. Now, as I mentioned previously, Konami have already started focusing a lot of their developmental efforts towards producing PES 2022. That will be their first game on the next generation of consoles, and they kind of want to make sure they get it right. This means that when the PS5 and Xbox Series X launch later this year, there won't be a version of eFootball PES 2021 released to go with it, which will undoubtedly feel like a long wait, especially if FIFA 21 beats them to the punch. Despite no version of PES being around to showcase the capabilities of these new consoles, however, the one saving grace is that both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X will be backwards compatible. So while PES fans won't get to experience the look and gameplay of next gen just yet, they will still be able to play their copies of PES PES 2021 on their new console. Number 2, a great price point. Now this one is simple, but I tell you what, it's goddamn effective. How do you make friends in this world? Well, save them 50% on the game of football they like. That's a pretty good start, don't you think? Because in recognition of Konami spending less time on the gameplay side of things and just bringing us the game that we got last year, plus some added aesthetic changes, they've actually reflected that in the price point of their game. So instead of it being £50 like it was last year, it's down to £25 for this installment of the game. I mean, that is a literal 50% save. And that's amazing. Now, just to put this into perspective a little bit for all the PES fans, but also for all the FIFA fans out there, FIFA 21 is currently set to retail at $49.99 for the standard edition and $89.99 for the ultimate edition. And while I must admit I am no mathematician, nor am I a FIFA fan by trade, it seems to me that PES might well have just played a masterstroke in trying to convince players to make the switch at a time when, let's be honest, players might not be so keen to contribute to EA's already deep pockets. And number 1, if you're not first, you're last. Now, as the new domestic seasons have kicked off throughout the world of football, why on earth would you want to wait any longer than you need to get your hands on a brand new game of football that has all the updated kits, leagues, and all that kind of thing? I know I personally wouldn't want to do it, and the quicker, the better. While eFootball PES 2021 may not be able to claim a title you can say very fast or fluently, let's be honest, what it can boast about is being released a whole 24 days before the worldwide release of FIFA 21 on October 9th. So while all the die-hard FIFA fans out there will be sat twiddling their thumbs and shuffling players around in last year's kits, waiting for the new installment to drop, PES fans will have been playing PES 2021 for almost a full month. Then again, FIFA fans do have the option to cut that wait down by a whopping 3 days to get it early on October 6th. All you have to do is spend $89.99 on the Ultimate Edition of the game. Cool. So there you have it, another year, another PES review by yours truly. That was our review for eFootball PES 2021. Let us know your thoughts on the brand new game and all of the things involved that we've just spoken about, and this video indeed, in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and share. Hit the old subscribe button if you haven't already. You can find the original article for this piece at whatculture.com/ I guess it'll be either in sport or in gaming or in football somewhere. The title will be eFootball PES 2021 Ups and Downs, something along those lines. You'll be able to find it. I have faith in you. I wrote that too. You can follow WhatCulture Football on Twitter at WhatCultureFC. You can also follow WhatCulture Gaming on Twitter at WCulture Gaming. Or if you'd like to follow me, if that's your thing, you can find me at It's Adam Nicholas. Or maybe you just want some more videos, and there should be some just after this one. I've been Adam Nicholas. This has been WhatCulture. That was your review of eFootball PES 2021. And I'll see you probably next year, to be honest.